A lot of people aren't where they want to be financially because they've stopped dreaming. Here's what happens to you when it comes to your money and your goals and your dreams. It's not as hard as people think. What happens is this. When you are in grade school, right, through middle school, through high school, you're kind of programmed to get a job. So when you're programmed to get a job already comes with what? A wage or some type of salary because you're working for a business owner. Now, because you already have a stagnant income, and because that income is going to be less than inflation, what happens is you force yourself into a little circle, if you will, that says my lifestyle has to be based on that wage. My lifestyle has to be based on that salary. My lifestyle has to be based on that circle, but it's a wage or a salary or a circle that somebody else put on you. Does that make sense? So what happens is at an early age, you're taught to stop dreaming. D for today is dreaming. You're taught to stop dreaming because your dream has to fit into this box or this lifestyle that somebody else is giving you. So at an early age, if you're taught to stop dreaming, what you end up doing is making your goals and dreams fit your income instead of making your income match your goals and dreams. So what I tell people all the time is when you're young, you learned a lot of things, but you also learned some things that you need to unlearn. The good thing about a human being, and everyone who follows my Instincts PONDCast, I talk about this every single episode. At least one animal I talk about and I discuss the mentality of that animal and their survival versus yours. But I start every series by saying you are the only species that can think of something and make it happen. So just because you learn something, it doesn't mean you can't unlearn it. Just because you learn that your dreams have to match your income, you can unlearn that and make your income match your dreams. So when you were a child, you were taught you can be anything you want to be. Your mom said you can be an astronaut. If you said you wanted to be an astronaut, your mom said, go to the moon. If you said you wanted to be an attorney, your dad said, we're going to go for it. But then after a while, they stopped believing in you because of their circumstances, and you stopped believing in yourself because of their circumstances and your circumstances and what the educational system told you could and couldn't do. So you stopped dreaming. So as adults now, we wonder why we don't have the money that we want to make. It's because you stopped dreaming years ago. Now, one thing about me, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I never stopped dreaming. I never stopped dreaming. Are there people living way better than me? Well, financially, because no one lives better than you because your happiness is internal. But maybe we'll get to that on H. But my whole point is I never stopped dreaming. I knew I would have a nice home. I knew I would have nice cars. I knew I would have the titles to my cars. There is a difference between a nice car and the titles to all of my cars. I knew that one day I would purchase land. A lot of you guys know about Beane acres, the 20 acres I purchased that I'm developing, and just a networker's dream, right? The lake, the fishing, the boating, the four-wheeler trails, the nature trails, the ATVs, the paddle boat, the gazebo, the well, you name it, the outdoor movie projector. I'm building an amphitheater. I knew I would have some land one day. But here's what happens. Here's what stops your dreams, which is D, from happening. You worry about the how so much, and you don't worry about the why enough. See, if you focus on the why, the how will show up when it comes to your dreams. A lot of people, if I would have said, okay, I need some acreage. I want to build an amphitheater. I want a lake on my property. I want to be able to speak out on the water. See, I'm dreaming big. I'm going to have a platform and a gazebo built out on the water. So when I speak, the audience is in the amphitheater on the land, and the wedding reception, or the show, or the speaking engagement is out on the water. Now, if I would have worried about how that's going to happen, I would have never got it. I mean, where am I going to find a property with water, with a gazebo and deck built out in the middle, with the proper elevation for an amphitheater to be built in the land, and overhead in case it rained? Where am I going to find that? I didn't worry about where I'm going to find it. I thought about the concept of land first, and the how showed up A lot of you guys focus too much on the how, but I was focused on the why. You understand? A lot of times when you focus on why you want something, a lot of times when you focus on why you're thinking this way, a lot of times when you focus on why you have certain behaviors, you'll start to change them, and the universe will line back up and say, okay, here's how we're gonna make that happen. But if you don't know why you're doing certain things, your dreams will always stay small because somebody else is telling you what to think. And nobody can dream bigger than you. D. So decide. Let's go with another D. Why don't you decide to dream bigger? So I have a training called The Politics of Language. And the politics of language is where I take certain words and I break them down. And IDE, in the politics of language, I talk about this. IDE means death. So suicide, pesticide, genocide, homicide, right? That means death. Anytime you see IDE. So what you have to do is decide to kill your small dreams and decide to water your big dreams. I decided a long time ago that I was going to dream big. And in going for it, the pursuit of going towards a bigger goal makes you a person that you would never become had you not shot for it. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's not that I have the mansion or whatever your goal is. I have the yacht. I have the airplane. I have, because a lot of times you can have headaches too, right? It's not what you're going to have as a result of the dream and the decision. It's it's who you're going to become in your pursuit of it. That went over a lot of you guys' heads. So you don't want the plane and the yacht and the house and the mansion. I didn't want the 20 acres so I could ball out of control. I wanted the 20 acres because of my freedom, and I felt like the freedom and flexibility that it would bring. Then COVID hit, and I realized how glad I am that I spread out 20 acres so my friends, as long as you vaccinated or quarantined, my friends can come over and we can have a safe space and not be in each other's way. I wasn't worried about how. All I knew was why I wanted the 20 acres, because I dreamed big and I decided to shoot for something even though it didn't exist at that time. I can't stress that enough. You got to decide to kill your small thoughts in lieu of your bigger thoughts so that the universe will line the things up to allow you to become the person you need to become in order to get it. Now, Brian, what does that have to do with, what does decide and dream have to do with the ABCs of money? Everything. Because if you're not dreaming big, then you might as well stay where you are. If you're not going to dream big, then just go ahead and keep a job, keep a salary, keep a wage, keep an income, and let somebody else tell you your value. If you're going to decide that that's okay with you, then there's no need in dreaming big. So the ABCs of money have everything to do with your decision to dream. Last but not least, it's all freestyle. See, I'm working on a skill at the same time. If you need a tangible action item, you need to get out of debt. D. If you need a D, you need to get out of debt, man. Listen, write this down. Interest is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance you cannot afford. Interest is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance you cannot afford. One of the reasons I don't have a lot of stress in my life is because I don't have a lot of debt in my life. There's not a lot of people knocking on my door threatening to get my cars, threatening to take my home, threatening to take my land, threatening to take me to court for judgments. I don't have a bunch of entities, people, or corporations that say, Brian, we gave you something and you owe us as a result, right? The borrower is a slave to the lender. So even if my money got super, super tight, my miniature emergency fund and my true emergency fund can last me the next 3 years. Why? Because I don't have debt. I understood that interest is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford. So what I decided to do a long time ago was look at the word penalty. So if interest is penalizing me for having it too soon, I had to ask myself, do I really need it? Do I really need it right now? See, a lot of people don't want to face this, but this is the truth. People wonder how I have 7 cars, for example, and 7 titles. And 4 of those cars are actually classic cars, and how I pay for these cars with cash. What people don't know is that for years, I drove a car that none of y'all would drive. See, I went ahead and bit the bullet years ago and drove a little clunker for years. And that, in retrospect, that short period of time set me up to where I don't need a note because my cash flow got so high, right? That from that point forward, I was able to snowball everything I wanted into assets that purchased the toys. Write this down. The middle class buys the appearances of wealth. The middle class buys the appearances of wealth. So if debt is the penalty you pay for the right to own something in advance that you cannot afford, why would I pay a penalty for something I can't afford right now? And instead of buying 1 car, you end up buying 2. And if your credit is really bad, instead of buying 2 cars, you really bought 3, but you only own 1, and it's not worth anything by the time you pay it off because your credit's so bad, your interest is so high because you're buried in debt. It is a vicious cycle. Go back and see the letter C yesterday, right? Capitalism, it is a vicious cycle. I want y'all to think about this before I go. When you have interest and you borrow a certain amount of money, right? That principle is one thing, but the interest works for the lender forever. So what happens is if you have, I'm going to use even numbers. Let's say you borrow $100 and you pay $125 back. That's interest. Because you borrowed 100 because you didn't have 100, so it cost you 25 to borrow 100. Now that $25 was free money. So that lender took the $25 times hundreds of thousands of us who also gave $25 because the educational system put us in that situation. They took that $25 and put it on somebody else's car note. So your credit card interest was free money. It went on somebody else's car note. So your $25 is rolled in and bundled into somebody else's car note. So when that person is paying their car note, the bank is using your money to give them that loan. Now this car is finally paid off, but that person had bad credit, or that person had good credit. That person had some type of interest. That interest is then rolled into somebody's mortgage. So your $25 is snowballed over and over and over and over again. And we know I'm being modest when I say $25. For most people, they have 3, 4, 5 credit cards. They have 2 car notes. They have a mortgage. They have several student loans. So all of your interest is bundled and put into other loans. So believe it or not, you are sending somebody's child to school, just not yours. When you pay a lot of interest, you are sending or paying somebody else's mortgage, just not yours. If you're getting some value from this video, share it. Just share it, because it's time that we go through these ABCs and show people that the interest that you're paying and spending is making other people's children wealthier than your own, but you're the one making the payments. Now, I don't have a problem with installment debt. What I really want to get you to destroy, another D, is revolving debt. Just every month giving away way more money than you need to, so these banks and these corporations can use your money and build their legacy. Take care of your revolving debt first. That's the high interest, typically. That's the interest that you can close the balance out at 0 and use it again, and your problems start all over again. At least your installment debt has a term attached to it. Hey, you owe us this for 5 years. You owe us this for 15 years. You owe us this for 30 years. But I'm not condoning having interest on anything. There's good debt, yes. There's bad debt, yes. Is debt okay if it has an investment attached to it, bringing back more than the interest you're giving out? Absolutely. I understand that. But we're here to talk about the concept of being buried in debt like most Americans are, not the differentiation between good debt and bad. So with that being said, I promise you guys, I won't do these things all day, man. But I got 23 more days left. And if you are accepting this challenge, meaning you're sharing it with people and you making sure you don't miss one every single day as a listener, then I appreciate you. If you are an educator and you want to use some nuggets from this and get you some quick index cards and share this information with others, then we appreciate it. Either way, whether you want to be a listener or an educator, accept this challenge. We teach this all day in our movement. We teach this every single day, and we show people how to improve their finances, and we want to help you do it in January of 2022. So what was A 4 days ago? Abundance and assets. What was B? B was your belief about money and becoming a business owner, and I think I tackled bills. What was C? C was definitely cash flow and capitalism and something else. And D, I want you to dream big. I want you to dream big. I want you to decide that the old you has to change in order for you to get the dreams that you want and deserve. Make that decision, and I want you to start attacking your debt. That's a freestyle, man. I hope you guys got it. I hope I wasn't all over the place. I'll see you guys tomorrow on E. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about, as you can tell, but something tells me something good is going to come out of this mouth of mine, because I'm just giving back what I was given, and that's a life worth living.